Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a huge frustration, something that wastes so much time for developers using AI coding assistants. I'm talking about getting code suggestions that are just completely out of date.
And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. A developer basically said, Claude generates code against a 6-month-old API and I spend time debugging. Ugh, you ask for help, you get what looks like a great answer, and then you're stuck for an hour trying to figure out why this supposedly super smart AI gave you code that just breaks.
Sound familiar? I bet it does. If you've ever wrestled with deprecated syntax, or my personal favorite, hallucinated APIs that literally don't even exist, you know exactly how maddening this is. You know, the AI is brilliant, but its knowledge is frozen in time, stuck in the past.
But what if there was a better way? What if your AI could have a direct live feed to the most current documentation for whatever you're working on? Well, that's what we're digging into today. There's this tool called Context7, and it's designed to fix this exact problem using something called an MCP, or model-centric platform, to get the AI the right info right now. All right, let's get into it. To really see why this is such a big deal, we got to look at the before and after. What's your day-to-day coding life look like with this problem versus with the fix? So, on one side, you've got the daily grind, right? You're getting code spit out from old training data, which means errors, bugs, and a whole lot of debugging. But on the other side, it's like a completely different world. Your AI has a direct connection to up-to-the-minute, version-specific docs. You get correct, working code pretty much every time. So here's the key idea. Think of Context7 as a live research assistant for your AI. The second you ask a question, bam, it zips out, grabs the latest, most relevant documentation, and injects it right into the prompt. That means the answer you get is based on today's reality, not on some old snapshot from a year ago.
Okay, so how do you actually get this into your workflow? Because let's be real, a great tool is useless if it's a pain to set up, right? And honestly, it doesn't get much easier than this. For most people, it's literally one command in your terminal. That's it. It handles authentication, gets you an API key, and sets up the tool for whatever AI assistant you're using. Cursor, Claude Code, you name it. Now, if you're using Claude Code and you kind of like doing things manually, no problem. It's still super simple, just 2 steps. First, you add the Context7 MCP server. Then you just pop a little rule into your project's cloud.md file. This just tells it, hey, anytime I ask about docs or code, go use Context7. Easy. Okay, this is my favorite part. The theory is cool and all, but this is where the rubber meets the road. Let's look at some actual real-world code examples to see the difference this thing makes. So check this out. A developer's working with Hugo. Without Context7, the AI spits out this old syntax for a function that, oops, can't handle authorization headers. That code is dead on arrival. But with Context7, it pulls the current docs and generates the correct, modern syntax, headers and all. That is literally the difference between an hour of debugging and just being done. And here's another one, this time with Next.js 15. The AI, just going off its old training data, suggests using useRouter. But any Next.js dev knows that's for the old pages router. In a modern app router project, that's just going to cause headaches. Context7, though, is smart enough to see the modern context and gives you the correct redirect function. See, it's not just about fixing syntax, it's about understanding the entire architecture. Okay, this next part is really interesting because it shows how the tool got even smarter. The first versions, they worked, but they had this problem called context bloat. Basically, they were just jamming way too much documentation into the AI's prompt. And that made everything slow, inefficient, and frankly expensive. So they went back to the drawing board and fixed it. And the change they made was honestly brilliant. They moved all the heavy lifting from your AI to their servers. So instead of your AI model having to search and filter and make all these different calls, the Context7 server does all of that for you. It intelligently finds the exact right snippets of documentation and sends back a neat, tiny little package. Just what's needed, nothing more. And the results of this one change? They're kind of staggering. First off, a 65% reduction in the number of tokens used per query. I mean, think about that. Your AI is working with way less noise and way more signal, which makes every single request cheaper and way more efficient. And what happens when things are more efficient? They get faster. We're talking an average 38% drop in response time. When you're in the zone, deep in a coding session, that kind of speed isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely crucial for keeping your flow state. And
finally, the whole process is just simpler behind the scenes. We're talking 30% fewer tool calls going back and forth. That means less complexity, fewer things that can break, and a system that's just all around leaner, smarter, and more reliable.
So, the big question, is this for you? Is this a tool every single developer needs? Let's break down who this is a perfect fit for and, just to keep it real, what the limitations are.
Honestly, it's pretty clear-cut. If you're using modern frameworks that are constantly changing, React, Next.js, Svelte, Fast API, that kind of thing, this tool is an absolute game changer. But if your stack is super stable, like plain old SQL or the Python standard library where the APIs haven't changed in forever, well, then you'd just be adding overhead for no real reason.
And hey, no tool is perfect, so let's talk about a few minor annoyances. First, the doc catalog is community-driven, so if you're using a super niche library, it might not be in there yet. Second, while it's way leaner, it does still add some tokens to your context, about 3,300. And lastly, sometimes it gets a little over-enthusiastic and tries to find docs for something really generic like bash scripts. So at the end of the day, after looking at everything, the features, the massive benefits, and the small trade-offs, it all comes down to a really simple question you have to ask yourself. How much time could you save by getting rid of just one of those debugging sessions caused by outdated code? When you think about it that way, for a lot of us, the answer makes trying a tool like this, well, kind of a no-brainer.